Okay, so I know everybody's talking about Los Angeles. We've been talking about Los Angeles, but we do have to focus on some other things going on. For instance, what are they calling it? The Big Beautiful Bill, which is still not an actual bill yet. Rumor has it it's really stuck in the Senate, and they are deeply divided. So what's going on? Let's ask Wade. Joining me now, United States Marine Corps veteran Wade Miller, also senior advisor for Center for Renewing America. Okay, Wade, the Big Beautiful Bill, what's the holdup? What's the Washington, D.C. dirt? Give it to us.
Well, on the conservative side, you have members who want deeper cuts on some of the mandatory spending programs, more savings on things like Medicaid. There's additional things we can do to save a lot of money there. On the moderate side, some of them think that these cuts go too deep and they don't want to cut as much money. And I don't understand that logic. We're $37 trillion in debt. The moderate right now kind of fashions itself as the Reaganism wing of the party, but they're neither socially conservative or fiscally conservative. They're kind of the worst of both of those ranks. So their job is just to perpetually throw a wrench in the gears here, and we need to get this bill done. It's got $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. Hopefully the Senate can go deeper and broader with that and lock in longer mandatory savings. And then we, of course, on the back end we can get after discretionary, and happy to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, Wade, we hear terms like, well, I just used the term deeply divided, and we keep reading articles saying they're deeply divided, but how divided are we? Are we a senator away? Are we 10 senators away? What do you know?
Well, so the White House and HFC and others are in conversations with their comrades in the Senate, and HFC just sent over a 10-page memo, I think, outlining all of the various options that they would have at their disposal to get additional cuts. Didn't demand all of it, just said, pick and choose. Here's some things that are on the table. But you have, a handful of Republican senators that just don't really want to do any of this. They want tax cuts, maybe. But they don't actually want to solve the spending crisis. And, at the same time, they don't want to talk about social issues. So at a certain point, you have to ask, what point is it in having them if they're not there at least on fiscal conservative votes?
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, Russ Vought is somebody I respect immensely. I'm sure you do as well. Russ said this is what he said.
If H.R. 1 fails, if whatever comes back from the Senate fails to get to the desk of the president and signed into law, what happens at the end of this year?
I think we'll have a recession. I think we will be, economic storm clouds will be very dark. I think we'll have a 60% tax increase on the American people. And just to, if I could answer Congressman Hoyer's question or statement, the notion that this bill, we've been actually criticized unfairly for on the reconciliation bill for the fact that it is all mandatory savers. We're using the same model that Bill Clinton signed into law, and we think it will have incredible impact on not just these programs, but giving people dignity of work. And we're not going to be ashamed by that, but we do need to explain ourselves to those that are being impacted by the watchdogs in this town.
Wade, I have actually talked to people I trust economically who kind of echo what Russ said there. Not necessarily people even pitching for the bill, but people saying we've gotten so hooked on all this government spending, getting off of it needs to be more of a weaning than a snap all at once. What do you know?
Well, yes and no. So our situation is fairly dire from a fiscal perspective. We need to be aggressive on this. But the political reality in D.C. is that people who know that this bill needs to get done, for the reasons that Russ mentioned, they're trying to navigate how much can we get done while still getting it done. Because at the end of the day, we can demand 2.5, 3 trillion in cuts, but then we end up with zero because the moderates will vote against it. And no one has argued that the reconciliation bill by itself is our answer to the national debt. We're going to have to take many steps to get there. I think 1.6 trillion in mandatory savers over a 10-year period is a huge step in the right direction. As a reminder, everyone touts the Gingrich welfare reforms of the 90s. I think Russ mentioned it in terms of what Bill Clinton signed into law. In real terms, compared to today's dollars, that was about 800 billion in cuts. This bill has 1.6 billion in cuts. So it is a huge step in the right direction. By itself, it's not going to solve the debt limit, crisis. It's not going to solve our deficits. We do need additional steps after this, but we need to figure out what is the most we can get and still get the votes to get it passed and then get this thing done.
Wade, what's a pocket rescission?
I'm glad you asked. So, right now, reconciliation process is dealing with mandatory spending. And a lot of people have asked, why aren't we doing DOGE cuts on the reconciliation package? And the reason is that reconciliation can't get at discretionary spending. It will be deemed as extraneous in the Senate and be stripped out through the Byrd rule process. So an alternative to this, to get at the discretionary spending side, is a rescission. Now, a regular rescission is a message sent to Congress by the president where he says, I want to cut this spending. And normally, the president can then withhold funding for 45 days. In that period, Congress has the opportunity to approve it or to reject it or only approve some of it. And after that 45-day withholding period, whatever is not cut is you can't do a rescissions package on. You're unable to cut that spending. So there's some risk in putting forward a rescission package because if a few moderate Republicans block it, then we lose our ability to rescind those funds this year. So we've put forward what we are calling a pocket rescission strategy. So remember, I mentioned that as soon as the president submits this package, the president has 45 days to withhold funding. So if you submit this package after roughly August 18th, that time frame, the president can withhold funding into into October. And the reason that matters is once you're past September 30th, the budget authority to spend those funds lapses. So if you do a pocket rescission after roughly August 18th, no matter what Congress does, no matter how many senators or members of the House, the moderates, the squishy swamp dwellers, no matter what they think about it, they can't stop it. So it's an easy way for the White House to bank hundreds of billions of dollars in cuts in fiscal year 25 and send that back to the American people and not add it to the balance sheets of our debt.
Do you get the impression
in other
that
words,
Trump
it's
White
how we get our
House-
DOGE cuts.
Do you get the impression that Trump White House would back something like that? Are they on that? Trump can be all over the map on spending.
Well, unlike the last, Biden administration and the last Trump administration, there are not a lot of leaks coming out of this White House. So I can't confirm 100%. However, I will say that I know that Russ knows about this. Russ has talked about it on CNN. He said the word pocket rescission on CNN. Mark Paoletta, one of the lawyers over at OMB, wrote a memo on this in 2021. So I suspect, given how much I know that Russ and Mark and others want to get at this money and cut it so that we don't spend it and fuel the woke and weaponized deep state that's being targeted against the American people, I can only assume by reading the tea leaves that this is their preferred strategy as well, or else we would have probably seen more rescissions packages already. So I think that they're looking at everything that's going on in Congress and they're putting out one relatively small rescissions package as a test to say, here you go, Congress, can you get this done? If not, then I suspect after that, you won't see any more rescissions packages until roughly August. Or if you do, it'll be very small packages that are less risky and more likely to pass.
Wade, who are these squishies in the Senate who are blocking this on our side?
I mean, they're the ones they're the ones that are always in the way. It's the Susan Collins, the Lisa Murkowski, the Mitch McConnells, that for whatever reason, they always find a reason not to support even the easiest fiscally conservative arguments. And I get it. They're in, either they're in swing states or they're just moderate Republicans. But again, these are the same people that will go out in their town halls and they'll say that they're socially moderate so that they don't have to answer on abortion and marriage. But they'll assure their Republican voters by saying, but we're fiscally conservative. And here we go. Here's fiscally conservative things that they could be doing. And yet, the Don Bacons of the world and the others, they're out there touting Reaganism and saying that they're going to vote against these cuts. And I just don't know how you square the peg of saying, we're $37 trillion in debt, but we have to fund $9 billion in foreign aid going to all of these NGOs that hate America and are aligned against us and have been propping up the censorship industrial complex. It's a little bit of insanity. And, enough is enough. We need to get these rescissions done.
We do. Wade, come back soon, brother. Semper Fi. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.